Alex, can you begin to tell us a little bit about yourself and your background?
Well, my background is varied. I've done, like many other people, done a lot of different things. I've had accounting practices. I've owned commercial industrial businesses. Currently, what I'm trying to do is finish 3 books and lecturing across Southern California and the western states, trying to get out information that I agreed to put out regarding the Earth dilemma, the situation that we all face here. Unfortunately, and I apologize, I'm 2 years behind schedule. I was supposed to start lecturing 2 years prior to this. I've really been out since October of '93. It'll be almost a year. And that's currently what I'm trying to do. So a lot of my energy and focus has been going towards that.
Now, you're in contact with the Andromedans. Who exactly are the Andromedans?
They're a particular race that exists in the constellation of Andromeda. They're just one of thousands that exist out there. They are the particular races that I talk to and have had contact with and have given me and shared information with me are human. They're white-skinned to light blue-skinned, anywhere from 4 foot tall to 8 feet tall. And they are human in every way.
Now, where did they originate, Alex?
All human life originated in Lyra. And when Lyra fell during a war, long before one of the stars there exploded, they migrated out from Lyra during a war in order to preserve the race, and they went to different parts of our galaxy. So all human life originated from Lyra originally. Because of their environment, they will, from generation to generation, pick up physical changes depending upon the surface and the organics of their planets, and so on and so forth. The different colored race skins have to do with genetics involving the stars in which that they're exposed to. So that's basically where they came from.
So their primary home star then is Lyra?
Yes.
And is that currently still
Originally
their home star?
No, there's no human life in Lyra.
So now where do they exist now?
In the constellation of Andromeda.
Okay. Throughout the constellation?
Yes.
Okay. They must be very plentiful then. There must be a great, vast civilization there.
Yes, there is. It's an ancient race.
Have they described what their civilization is like to you?
Yes, they have.
And could you go into some of the details that strike you the most about their civilization?
They're essentially, no matter where they are, they're a one-world government. Their society would be approximately 4,700 years more advanced than ours on a spiritual level. On a technological level, they're 50,000 years.
Now,
but there's a balance between their technology. In other words, the technology they create is based on a spiritual necessity to evolve and not on one to defend themselves, even though it can be used for that.
Now, when you say 4,700 years advanced spiritually,
yes.
How do you measure spiritual advancement in years?
I don't really know. That's what they've expressed to me.
I see.
And they don't even use time in their world. There's no such thing really. But they use those numbers to accommodate us so that we can use those as a point of reference.
I see. Okay. What do they call their world in their language?
They don't speak. Everything is a symbol there. The whole race is telepathic. And I want to back up just a little bit. There are 28 different races there. Not all are human. Many are dimensional, plasmic, organic, that were there before the human aspect of the Andromedans themselves, or the Lyrans got there and became Andromedans. There's a lot of life on the different dimensional levels that if we were to go to fifth density, we would be physical on fifth density, even though here we're on third density. Our perspective of them is being spirit. So, on each of the different dimensions, there is an abundance of life that is completely different than how we would perceive it, because our perception is of what third density is like. Even fourth density is very different, but we will have physical form in fourth density.
Now, is third density the lowest density, or are there others lower?
The animal and insect kingdoms would be, in planetary systems, would be considered lower, but to be perfectly honest with you, I've not had a clear definition of that, because I haven't asked. My focus really has been us, and where do we go from here?
Right.
So
now, what is the main difference between the third density and the fourth density?
The real difference is consciousness. In fourth density, you can pretty much instantly create what it is that you think. Whatever your thoughts are, you manifest almost instantaneously. So there is a major degree of responsibility in dealing with that. Also in fourth density, we become more of a group mind. In fourth density, we're all telepathic. In other words, everybody can read each other's minds, which means you have to be real. You can't have hidden agendas because people will see right through you. Also in fourth density, we all become clairvoyants. We'll be able to see energy fields, see life forms, which means that if you're hiding something, it'll be seen instantaneously. They've also said that in fourth density, when we move into that, our court systems will change. There's still a positive and negative. That exists all the way to the fifth density, where you will experience to a strong degree the dualities in our everyday environments. What will happen is you'll have a judge and you'll have a jury who will all be clairvoyants, and they will read the energy field and know who's telling the truth and who isn't. And everything will be judged based on that. Will be based on energy, not on words. When you, in fourth density, when you walk by somebody or you touch somebody's hand, you will instantly know everything about them. So again, there will be no hidden agendas. Everybody will really have to be real. And if they choose to have and continue to play out their agendas, whatever those are, then they will have the space. But you will know, or people will know, I will know who we're dealing with instantaneously.
What is there an economy, and what is the basis of their economy? Is it like a spiritual economy, or is it like the value? I've heard some people describe their views of other extraterrestrial civilizations as having a spiritual economy where the amount of psychic energy you put into something is given a value. Have they expressed any how their social systems work?
Okay, I know a little bit about that. Essentially, everybody is given exactly what it is they need to evolve. There are many different races. Each race has their own uniqueness about them based on their particular belief systems. And my understanding is that everything is a belief system. As far as the Andromedan culture, children go to school, or the Andromedans, they go through a birth process just like we do. Those that are physical, they go to school for anywhere from 120 to 150 years. They're taught all of the major sciences and arts. There would be equivalent to PhDs or doctorates or masters, whatever you want to call it, in all of the arts. It is at that point, once they're done with all of that education, that they choose what it is that they wish to do or to evolve. And they can change their mind anytime they want. The whole purpose is the evolution of the soul and life. They're given whatever it is that they need to do that. I'm not aware of crime or whatever, or anything along those lines. Their whole focus is on education and not distraction. If it's something that is not educational, from what I've observed, It's just simply something they're not interested in. They just have it within them to constantly evolve on an educational as well as a spiritual level. And whatever they need is there for them to use. I'm not aware of them having to pay anything for it. No. It's just, to my knowledge, it doesn't exist.
Now, is art and music important to them too?
Yes, all of it is. But those things are very different than what we perceive. Art is creation to them. Things that are created out of thought, out of the isness, what they call isness. The Pleiadians call creation what we call God. Things that are created just by thought, by nature, they consider art. They use extensively holographic technology. Music, their music is of the universe, of what the music that certain planets make as they rotate around their sun, what different solar systems make as they revolve around their sun, and what whole systems, the sounds and energy that they create, to them that's their music. And then they put things together, different constellations, different star systems. They'll put those together and overlap them to create music. It's different than what we just pull out of thin air here.
How have they expressed what their daily life is like? Is there a solar day for them, or is there night or day, or what is their daily life like, or periods of life?
There is really, to my knowledge, no set schedule. I'll give you an example of what I observed on one of their motherships. They don't require much sleep, to my knowledge, simply because I guess they're very healed. Their beings, their physical form, they're just incredibly healed. They're just in touch. There is no night and day. They don't need to experience that. Although I'm sure other races have that, but the Andromedans don't. They're just constantly stretching themselves, trying to evolve and experience more and more and more all the time. They're happy people. They don't have the extremes of emotions that we express here. In fact, I've been told that virtually few races in the entire galaxy express the realm of emotions that we experience here. They're just always in a very wonderful space. They're not a civilization that really judges. They do accept things the way they are, with the exception of when those things threaten their particular lifestyle or what they're about, their essence, and others, what other races might experience or perceive as a threat.
Now, Alex, you said they're evolving spiritually. What do they want to evolve towards? What spiritual goals do they have?
I guess to be just the best that they are, to be completely at one with all that there is at all times. There are 11 creational densities, and my understanding is that within each of the densities you change your physical form. Their goal as a race is to go from the densities that they experience, which are 3, 4, and 5, I guess to move to 5, 6, 7, and 8, and then from there 8, 9, and 10, and then to 11, and now the new dimensional realm that's being created, 12. It's just to continue to evolve. Nobody knows exactly what the ultimate goal is, because the essences that they're in touch with that are on 9th, 10th, and 11th are continuing to evolve. And now there's a 12th density that's being added to our universe, and they're being drawn up to experience this new density. So nobody really knows what the ultimate spiritual goal is. They themselves are still searching for what God is. They know it exists, but what it is, nobody really knows, which is why they call it the isness. It's just a force that's there. And how we perceive it is based on how we perceive ourselves and our own belief structures, belief systems. And that's how we use the energy to create.
Now, you mentioned that they're in contact with essences from the 9th, 10th, and 11th.
Yes.
Can you describe what they describe these beings to be like to them, and what they would be like to human beings?
It's just pure consciousness. What their daily lives are like, I don't know. I don't have any idea.
Have they described them at all in any sort of detail to you?
Just light.
Just light.
Just light.
Oh, just light.
Just light. That's all I know.
Okay, now, what abilities do the Andromedans possess that exceed those of Earth humans? You mentioned telepathy.
Well,
see,
that's an interesting question, and I don't know that I necessarily like the way you put it. The abilities that they have are latent in everybody. They just haven't lived in a society that has been screwed with like we have been here. They're all telepathic, they're all clairvoyant, they're all healers because they're taught all of the sciences. They're whole. I guess that's the only way that I can put it to you, is that they're completely whole. Every soul knows who they are, they know who they've been, they know what their reincarnational past has been. They as a soul have a personal agenda which every time they incarnate they're consciously aware of. So they know where they're going. They see improvement in themselves life after life after life. We, if we hadn't been so screwed with here, would have the same abilities. We could very much be where they are. But we've been manipulated incredibly for the last 5,700 years on an intense level every day. Our real manipulation really started about 14,000 years ago, when the Orion group started manipulating our DNA structure. So it isn't that they're better, because they're not. We're just different. We're a little bit behind than they are because of our manipulations here. But the real bottom line here is we're all spirit. We contain a soul. That soul is a part of all that is. And that soul has been really trying to be recognized in each of us. And it hasn't been because of the material and the belief systems that we have evolving around us being earth people, about being physical, and about the real truths of our essence, of our existence, of who we are, having been blinded from us, from our spiritual teachings, from the religions, and us being convinced that we're something that we're not, that we're physical, that we're animal form, and we're not. We're spirit. Our spirit animates these physical forms, period.
Alex, what is the Andromedan Council?
It is a, excuse me,
Oh, sure.
it is a political body that's represented by now 133 different races and cultures and planetary systems. There are over 1,200 systems and planetary races, evolving races that could be part of the Andromedan Council, but not all of them are. It would be comparable to Earth here to like a United Nations, except it's not a United Nations in the sense that it has a political agenda. The Andromedan Council, as a body, their sole purpose is to facilitate evolvement of all life in the galaxy. And that's really what their goal is to allow all life forms to evolve on their own without manipulation. Obviously that's not occurring here on Earth. And we're not the only ones. This is occurring on 22 other planets in our galaxy. But the other planets are not stuck in the muck that we are, to the degree that we are here. And this is a major concern for them, because we're not moving in a direction that we should be moving. There are elements here that are definitely holding us back. And because Earth has become this real prize, and not only Earth, but us as well. So I'm getting off a little bit. I want to stay with your questions.
So its overall goals then are to elevate the spirituality of all life forms in their own particular ways.
Evolutionary ways, right. That they evolve according to the degree of their consciousness.
Now, how and why was it first brought into existence, the Andromedan Council?
I don't know. I do know that it was formed. It was formed shortly after the Orion Wars, which was a huge war that lasted 600,000 years in our galaxy. And it was predominantly between the humans, the human race, of which there's all kinds of humans, hundreds of billions of humans, and those of reptilian races that do coexist in our galaxy.
Now,
there was no winner, by the way. Apparently both sides got so tired of killing each other, they just kind of just stopped, and an undeclared truce was formed. And I know in Orion, where there's a very large group, they have their own political group called the Orion Group, and the humans and other life forms that came together formed the Andromedan Council. And there are others, you know, that are a small part of each of the galaxy, and other galaxies apparently have their own little groups where people come together and decide, you know, what's happening, or they communicate with each other. There's trade, there's bartering, there's a sharing of wisdom, of knowledge, of essences, so that everything can evolve together and you know, work in an unconditional love type of space.
You're lucky. You're a lucky person, I think. I know you have a very difficult task, but I think you're very lucky to be given this wisdom. I think you're very lucky. When did their interaction with human beings on Earth begin?
1980.
1980?
1980.
And how did that begin, and what was the essence of that interaction?
Okay. It really all evolved around the Pleiadians themselves. Earth has been the subject of discussion for a long time. The real attention and focus really started when we started detonating our first nuclear weapons. We did, as a race. Nuclear weapons had been used here in our ancient past hundreds of thousands of years ago, because there have been wars here between a lot of different factions, predominantly most of them human. The Pleiadians had agreed or offered to come back here and try to help raise the consciousnness of the planet. Well, apparently what happened was, when they got here, they were really faced with their past. The Pleiadians had had incredible civil wars amongst themselves and other wars. And they had just moved into a fourth and fifth density consciousness, and they didn't want to come back here and take the warrior space again. And because of the Greys' involvement here, and the Orions, and a small group from Sirius B, and the Orion group, and a group from Rigel that are here as well, and others, they didn't want to come back here and have to move into warrior space. So they started dragging their feet. In other words, they didn't do as much as they needed to do. Well, as this is occurring, you know, changes in our galaxy are also occurring, and they're moving at a much faster rate. So the Andromedans finally said, well, wait, what is happening? What have you accomplished? And the Pleiadians basically said, you know, we're having our own conflicts dealing with this, because the Pleiadians themselves have a tremendous amount of karma with our solar system, you know, with Mars and Earth. They simply just weren't as motivated as they should be or could have been to start making the changes here. They also had made some communications with the Earth governments that didn't go very well at all. So basically, they said, well, we don't know what to do. So the Andromedans themselves said, okay, well, we'll do it. We'll take this, because it is important for the whole. We'll make an effort. Now, the Andromedans were probably the better choice, because they don't have any karmic ties to us. So they're completely neutral, and they're probably better observers as well, because of their neutrality. So they've basically been taking over. And what they did was they got involved in 1980. They were working with the Pleiadians, with the Sirians. They have...
Which group is Sirians?
From Sirius A. Sirius A. So what they're doing here now is they're trying to raise the consciousness. they came back in time to 1964 to contact me. I'm not the only one. There are others. There are also other people who are mediums or channels or whatever word you want to add to it, who are also getting information on a spiritual level. Octurians are also involved. And the whole point is they want our part of the galaxy to evolve. And what's holding us back is our solar system. And what's holding back our solar system is the consciousness of humanity on the Earth. The Earth herself, as an entity, spiritual entity, wants to move into fourth and fifth density. But she can't yet because of the consciousness of humanity. And in order for her to do it without humanity, one of two things have to happen. Humanity either has to shape up, grow up, as the Andromedans say, or humanity has to be removed and get out of the way.
Cleansed.
Exactly. Whatever term you want to use. But those options don't necessarily involve us using our free will. So that's the dilemma that we have. It's like we are so entrenched in our belief systems that the reality of our belief systems is being chipped away daily, to what we think is real. And an overlapping degree of thoughts and energy are being introduced that hopefully will open our perspective, enough people's perspective, to the point where we can experience a real leap in consciousness here. And we have to do this quickly. We have to do this by 2001 in order to really...
particular month?
Between July and August.
And what's happening?
That's the probability.
What's happening July, August 2001?
Well, basically nothing, but, we're creating our future. Much of our future, that our belief systems, is being focused on the Book of Revelations, on other prophetic disasters that are to occur.
So you're talking about self-fulfilling prophecy?
Right. We're literally going to create it. We're literally going to create our own demise. Because we're buying into belief systems that say we ourselves are not mature enough or grown up enough to take care of our own selves. So we need somebody to come in here and take care of us. And that's an absolute recipe for disaster. Because, who would want to come down here and save us from ourselves? Because then they're going to have to tell us what it is that we're going to have to do. We're not taking responsibility for ourselves. The Andromedans say that, the divine plan is one of freedom. Any savior that comes down here and implements a government to save us, there's freedoms will be taken away from you.
So that whole system of belief was part of the system of control that was set up in the first place.
That's right. A lot of it has been Gray and Orion manipulations.
Okay.
And if you have time travel, it's very easy to go back in time and manipulate the future. It's very easy. And this they've done in an incredible way. They haven't been here thousands of years like our government says. The Greys have really only been here 59 years. Travel capabilities, they've gone back in time and they've been able to manipulate series of historical events to bring us to where we are now, to where we are asking for somebody to come in and save us. And they're already here. And if we ask, because of our free will, will you please save us? Well, then we've asked for it. And we've gotten exactly what it is that we deserved, because we didn't take responsibility as a race to fix our own problems and to deal with our own problems. We kept looking outside of ourselves. And, this is why the Andromedans are so strong about us growing up and really taking responsibility for it.
Now, how many human beings is the Andromedan Council in contact with on Earth? I remember you saying at one time 4.
To my knowledge, they're in contact with 4. Beyond that, I don't know. I don't know if there are more, if there are going to be more. I know there's one in the United States, there's one in South America, one in Asia, one in Europe. But there are other groups that are here, over 170, who may also on some level be talking to people and communicating, whether it's physical or telepathic or through mediumship, dealing with the different spiritual levels. There's a lot of information that's being sent down here.
Are they finding it's effective? Is it working?
To a degree, it's not working as quickly as they want, simply because most people are incredibly apathetic. They're stuck in their 9 to 5. I have to make my mortgage payment. My kid's got to get to school in the morning, and I don't give a damn about anything else. And unfortunately, that isn't going to work. It isn't going to save you. It isn't going to protect you. There's so much more going on here, you know, and we are just one small part of this whole picture that's going on, and we have to wake up.